Little Redcap. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village, there lived a kind and cheerful girl. She always wore a bright red hooded cape that her grandmother had made for her, so everyone called her Little Red Cap. One day, her mother said, "Dear, your grandmother is not feeling well. Please take this basket of fresh bread, honey, and warm soup to her. But remember, stay on the path and do not talk to strangers." Little Red Cap nodded. "Yes, Mother, I will be careful." She put on her red cape, picked up the basket, and skipped into the deep green forest. The sun shone through the trees and birds chirped happily. She loved the fresh smell of the flowers and the gentle rustling of the leaves. As she walked along the path, a large gray wolf stepped out from behind a tree. He had sharp yellow eyes and a sly grin. "Good morning, little girl," the wolf said in his smooth voice. "Where are you going on such a fine day?" Little Red Cap hesitated. She remembered her mother's warning, but the wolf seemed polite. "I'm going to visit my grandmother. She's not feeling well," she said. "I'm bringing her some food to make her better." The wolf's eyes gleamed. "Oh, what a kind girl you are. And where does your dear grandmother live?" "She lives in the little cottage at the end of the forest, just past the 3 big oak trees," Little Red Cap said proudly. The wolf licked his lips. "That sounds lovely, but look around. The forest is full of beautiful flowers. Wouldn't your grandmother love a bouquet?" Little Red Cap gasped. "That's a great idea." She stepped off the path and began picking bright yellow daisies and pink roses. The wolf chuckled to himself. "Now's my chance." He ran as fast as he could through the forest, straight to grandmother's house. When the wolf reached the cottage, he knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Inside, grandmother was sitting in her rocking chair, knitting a warm scarf. "Who is it?" she called. "It's me, grandmother, Little Red Cap," the wolf said in his best little girl voice. "Come in, dear." The wolf pushed the door open and pounced. Before grandmother could move, he swallowed her up in one big gulp. Gulp. Then he put on her nightcap, wrapped himself in her blanket, and climbed into bed. "Now I just have to wait for that sweet little girl," he snickered. A little while later, Little Red Cap arrived, holding a bouquet of flowers in one hand and the basket of food in the other. She knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. "Who is it?" the wolf called, trying to sound like grandmother. "It's me, grandmother, Little Red Cap. I brought you food and flowers." The wolf cleared his throat. "Come in, my dear." Little Red Cap stepped inside. The room was dim, and grandmother was lying in bed, covered up to her chin. "Grandmother, are you feeling okay?" Little Red Cap asked. "Oh, yes, dear," the wolf said, hiding his grin. "Come closer so I can see you better." Little Red Cap stepped closer, but something seemed different. "Grandmother, what big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "The better to see you with, my dear," the wolf said, smiling wider. "Grandmother, what big hands you have." "The better to hug you with, my dear," the wolf chuckled. Then Little Red Cap gasped. "Grandmother, what big teeth you have." "The better to eat you with," the wolf roared, and he jumped out of bed. Little Red Cap screamed and ran to the door. Just at that moment, a woodcutter was passing by the cottage. He heard the scream and burst through the door with his axe. "Stop right there, you wicked wolf!" the woodcutter shouted. The wolf tried to run, but the woodcutter was too fast. With one strong swing of his axe, he frightened the wolf. Suddenly, the wolf wanted to avoid him but tripped over a rock and fell, then fainted. Then they heard a small voice. "Help! I'm in here!" The woodcutter and Little Red Cap looked around. The voice was coming from the wolf's big round belly. "Oh no, grandmother!" cried Little Red Cap. The woodcutter carefully opened the wolf's belly, and out popped grandmother, safe and sound. "Oh, my dear child," grandmother hugged Little Red Cap tightly. "Thank you for saving me." Little Red Cap smiled. "It wasn't just me. The woodcutter helped too." Grandmother laughed. "And I think I've had enough excitement for one day. Now let's eat that warm soup."
Meow.